Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce someone to you who has a great testimony. And dear lady, I've known her since you were 14.
Maybe younger.
Maybe even younger. She used to come to our youth group. I actually got to do their wedding ceremony, and I got to dedicate their baby, so wow. Big part of our lives. Goldie McElwain.
Thank you. Well, hi everyone. I'm used to speaking to the kids downstairs, and I'm used to speaking to adults for my job. I'm the marketing director at PCS, so I talk to them a lot about the importance of Christian education and what that's done for so many of people who I've met's lives and what it could do for our own children's lives, I've learned. But this is my first time speaking up here, so I'm a little nervous, so just be patient with me. But yeah, as Tom said, I've been through something pretty hard recently, health-wise, that was unexpected. And before that happened, I was actually reading in Job. So leading up to that, I was reading about this man of God who was so perfect and upright, and he just kept getting tested and tested by Satan and God, and his wealth and family were destroyed, and his health was destroyed, and his emotions are all over the place. And I just remember, even before my own health, like relating to that and thinking, why do I relate to this? Why do I feel so emotional all the time? Why do I feel like so put down? And he was wrongly accused by his friends, and he stayed true to God through all of it, and he got so much blessing, and I was so encouraged by that. And before I jump into how that leads into my testimony, I wanted to tell you guys a little bit more about myself, since I've never actually shared my faith testimony in this setting or here. So anyway, my faith started when I was a really young girl, and I was raised Catholic in the Catholic Church, and my mom sent me to a Catholic school, and we learned about God there, and it was a welcoming community. All the teachers were extremely nice. Everybody knew everybody's name. We were all close. We did all our fundraisers together, and I always had this like sense of who God was and what he was, even if I didn't understand him completely. But I always knew I wanted him to be a huge part of my life. And there was a moment when I was probably in like 4th or 5th grade, after a confession, a nun pulled me into a booth and she sat me down and she said, "Okay, Goldie, you're getting older now. You're going to go to middle school soon. Are you going to take God seriously, or are you just going to forget about him once you leave?" And she really made me think about it. And I've never forgot that moment. I was like, yes, I want to take God seriously with my life. I want to serve him with my life. No matter what decisions I make going forward, I know I want him to be there. So then I go to middle school, and all of my friends who I was friends with at Holy Redeemer, they kind of decided, I wasn't for them anymore. I needed to make new friends. So I made new friends, and they were just Christians. They weren't Catholic. My friends Mia Gatto and Lori Rechtenwald, they kind of really took me under their wing and let me sit at their lunch table every day and made me feel welcomed in a new setting, which is I was really nervous about, really scared about, because all I'd known was Holy Redeemer and all my comfort and warmth there, and I didn't know if that was how that was going to translate into the new school. And Lori and Mia, they kind of did that for me, and Mia was really strong in her youth group at Victory Church, and she talked to me a lot about who God was and what having a relationship with him was like, and how it wasn't always just about religion, how sometimes you really just had to pray and get to know God, and it just opened up a lot of new things in my eyes and made me still have a lot of questions. So in middle school, I still ran cross country like I did at the Catholic school. I started running cross country when I was in 2nd grade. And on the school bus to all of the meets, there was this boy, and he would read the Bible every time. And I was like, wow, that's the kind of boy I want to date. You know, in middle school, everyone's dating somebody. They kind of like make it their identity. And I was like, if I'm going to do that, I want it to be a boy who reads the Bible. But unfortunately, things didn't go well. I got through it, and he brought me here. There were so many times I questioned, why, God? Why is this happening to me? The reason I wanted to be with him was because he read your word. And he still brought me here. And I learned so much from Tom, more about the Bible. He was teaching me more things than I realized I needed to about the Bible, and helping get me closer and closer. And one of the huge moments in my faith story is going to Acquire the Fire with that youth group and just feeling this overwhelming sense of God in worship and in prayer. And I said prayers I'd never said before. And I thought, maybe this is that saving moment I hear Tom talking about. I don't know. And I look back on it now and I think, well, maybe I was saved in the Catholic Church whenever she was asking me about how serious I should take my faith. I don't know when I got saved. I just know there were all these huge moments leading up to it. And before I even went to Inferno, whenever I was super close with Mia and Lori, they came with me for my birthday to see the movie Soul Surfer about Bethany Hamilton. I don't know if you guys have heard about her or not, but she was a huge athlete. She was a very competitive surfer, and she got her arm taken off by a shark. And I just remember that scene of her sitting in the hospital, like crying and asking her pastor, why is this happening to me? I imagined a whole life of telling the world about God while surfing and that being my outlet. And I always knew, well, okay, I can do athletics too. No matter what I go through, I'm not going to be armless. I can get through it. And one of the huge new things that I got into at that time was pole vaulting with my coach, Frank, who's sitting in the back. And I remember calling myself to my friends, I am the soul vaulter. That was like a title that I came up with on my own. I was like, I don't know if I'll actually be good at it for the rest of my life. But right now, soul vaulting, that's me. I'm gonna get good at it. I got more into long distance running and cross country than I ended up getting into pole vaulting, but it's still a fun part of my story. So one of the verses that Bethany Hamilton's character quotes in that movie is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ. And in middle school, when I was searching for my identity, I kind of like made that verse my identity. I got it on purses. I had it on all my notebooks. Everywhere I went, I was thinking, I can do all things through Christ. So all throughout middle school and high school, I thought, it doesn't matter what God throws at me. I can do it because I've got him with me, which is the good attitude to have. But that verse alone, without more support, it can be taken out of context, and you can put too much on yourself, and you can make yourself do more than you should and not analyze, like, what is God actually picking for me right now? What should I focus on? I'm focusing on too many things all the time. So anyway, after I started dating and I ended up getting enough confidence to break up with him in middle school, while I was still here before I broke up with him, I met this guy back here. Tom and Barb got to introduce us at the Bible study downstairs, the youth group we were coming to. And I remember when he first walked in the door, looking at him like, that guy, he's different. There's just something about him. Like, he wears different clothes than all the boys that go to my school. He wears jeans and a belt buckle and cowboy boots. He reminds me of my family. I think he's kind of cool, but I don't know, he's just different, kind of weird, kind of strange. And I asked Tom and Bart about him that night that I met him. I was like, who is that guy? Where did he come from? And they were like, oh, well, he's homeschooled, and he doesn't have a lot of friends, so we're kind of hoping that our Bible study and youth group will be good for him socially. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I still just saw him here. We weren't like instant best friends. I wasn't like instantly in love. I just thought of him frequently, thought he was cool. And then we got to know each other more through being friends here, and we did the Carpenters project together. I thought back on that time frequently. I remember telling my friends, yeah, this guy from our Bible study, our youth group, he was at the Carpenters project, Cody. He's really cool. If I ever get enough confidence to break up with Wes, there might be something there one day. Like, he was never not in my mind as a different option, so. But as you all know, we ended up staying together throughout high school. He actually proposed to me my senior year of high school, which has caused a lot of pushback, and a lot of people thought we were crazy and we shouldn't be doing that. But I just had this overwhelming sense of being called to be with him. He was real. What I thought I saw in Wes back whenever I was only like 14 and way too young to be making those kinds of decisions, I thought, I think this guy is for real. He really has it. He's really reading the Bible with me. He's praying with me. He's doing things that didn't happen the first time around. So even though I was still very young, maybe too young to be making those decisions, we did what we did. And we stayed true to what we wanted to do. We wanted to get married. We wanted to have a family. But it was also my senior year of high school. like all this work I'd done in high school. I was a straight A student. I was at the top of my class. I was an athlete. I knew I wanted to go to college. How did my relationship with him and with God fit into all that? What should I have been focusing on? So I reflected on everything I wanted to do. I decided I still wanted to go to college. I didn't want all that hard work I'd just done to amount to nothing. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do anymore. But for the first time ever, I really reflected, and Tom even helped me reflect over like what gifts God had given me. What kind of career did I want to see myself in? And I knew that I was good at English and writing and communication and talking to people. And I knew ever since my mom bought me my first camera at the time of like 9 or 10, I loved taking pictures in the backyard of flowers, and those are all just gifts and talents that I've been given. And running cross country, it's like I've been doing this since 2nd grade. I don't know what my life will look like without it. So when I went to college, I joined Westminster's cross country team because I'd known a girl from high school who went there, and she helped me meet the coach and take a tour, and I got to meet some English professors, and I was like, okay, I think I could see myself here. I think I could work here and do this, and lots of my gifts and talents will be used. In my freshman year, I got to not only be on the cross country team, but end up coming in like 5th place or better than that, and traveling with them to Florida and doing all these amazing things. And me and Cody, we kept getting closer, and we stayed true to wanting to get married. And then next thing I know, God throws another curveball my way. Now I'm pregnant my freshman year of college. And it's like, okay, now I can't do cross country anymore. Now I have to quit track. I really thought God was calling me to that. Now what? And then from then on, and Cody worked out of town all the time, so he was gone a lot, so I was kind of single momming it with not just one baby who I had in my sophomore year, but 2 babies. I had the second one my junior year of college, and I still had to try to put God into the equation, and I was just kind of in survival mode all the time. With my college work, I was still there. I was still trying to talk about God in my classes and with my professors, but it was really hard. I put way too much on myself. I didn't even realize until many years later now, reflecting on it all, how hard I made it. But God still got us through it, and the blessings are still there, and we're still working on things. In my senior year of college, was COVID. It was the year 2019 and 2020. And Cody's dad got cancer and passed away in April of 2020. So it's kind of just like every year, something else new, something else major, more grief, another curveball, more things being thrown our way. And I just asked myself so many times, all the time, why God? Why am I so tired all the time? Why am I in so much grief all the time? Why is all this happening to us all the time? But we still kept staying true to him. We still prayed together. We still were attending here as much as we could with 2 little babies. And then I still had this sense of wanting to have a 3rd one. And Cody was like, why? It was a battle. He was like, why? Why have another baby? We have been through so much. I was like, I don't know. I still just feel like we're supposed to be praying for a boy for some reason. I was like doing dishes one day, which is, I hate doing dishes. You can ask my mom. I never did them growing up. Cody knows I hate it. But that's like my time of prayer all the time. Why am I doing these dishes? Everything's to serve God. And he revealed to me one day while doing the dishes and praying, yes, you're still supposed to have a 3rd boy. You'll know why later. It's like, okay. So we did. That wasn't until 2022. In 2021, making those decisions, Cody quit his job of working out of town all the time, and we were able to get closer and work on our family more and work on our marriage more. And we went to lots of places, like a church camp we go to where they have marriage counseling. And the guy who was speaking at that conference actually looked at us and he was like, the best thing you can give your kids is a better marriage, not another baby. And I was like, oh, what do I do with that? I'm feeling called to have another baby. So we still went on with what we planned, and we're trying to work on our marriage amidst learning how to live with each other again, because all of a sudden he was home all the time again in the evenings, and when me and the kids were home, I mean, he was out of time so much that it got to the point where our 3 or 4 year old at the time was telling my family and people, my daddy doesn't live with us, he lives at work. I see him sometimes. That's how bad it got. And Cody knew at that moment that this is too much. I can't be doing this. I want my kids to know me. I want to be a godly example of a father for them. So I guess I should go back. Before he quit his job in 2020, after I graduated and I was burnt out from college and having the kids and doing everything on my own and losing Cody's dad, Cody was like, you still need to get a job. I know you just graduated college and we have a lot of kids, but you can't just be a stay-at-home mom. We can't afford that with your college bills. I was like, oh, I do not want to go into a job right now. I do not want to work right now. The world is a scary place, and I am tired. I don't want to do anything else. It was like, no, you went to college for a reason. You have gifts and talents. You work that hard so that you can work to pay off those bills. It's like, okay. And then he was like, start looking for one. Start looking on Indeed. Start looking here and there. Find a job that has everything you learned in school. I was like, I really don't want to, but okay. I remember praying about it while he was gone and working and telling God, I really like staying home with my babies. I'm already doing a lot. But if you have a job for me, like Cody says, then you're going to have to bring it to me because I'm not looking for one. That's just too much work right now. So Eric and Mackenzie, they were still coming to the church all the time, and we talked to them a lot. And Mackenzie was a teacher at Portersville Christian at the time, and she told me, I really want you to come work with me. You'd help make it so much better if you were there. And she told me that they had a marketing job opening up, and they wanted to hire somebody in 2020, right after I graduated. And it had writing skills needed, communication skills needed, photography, multimedia, graphic design, literally everything I just learned in college. I was like, oh, a ministry, everything I just learned, I can't pass it up. Okay, I'll apply. It'll be in God's hands. I think this is what he's calling me to do. And I prayed about it for a long time. I was like, I think this might be the job that you're bringing me. I was like, I guess I'll do it, even though I'm tired and I don't want to. I don't want to work. So I applied for the job and I got it. And I was super excited to be working in a ministry and to be getting to tell people about not only the school there, but about God and serve him in that outlet. And I was like, this is another way I can be ignited and for Christ and reconnect with who I fell in love with all those years ago and have known my whole life. But then I got tired and burnt out quickly again, and I was at another place of low because, I wanted to have another kid, and me and Cody were still working on our marriage and dealing with all the grief and hurt from all our past several years. And then last year, in 2022, in November, I met with Tara Marsh, and I thought she was just going to tell me about all the missions work she did, and she was just going to try to encourage me a little bit. And then she says, what is God calling you to, Goldie? I was like, I guess just children, my kids. I've helped raise kids my whole life, my own 3 little brothers, all my cousins. And then I thought about it more and more after we met. I really didn't have much to say to her. She was like, it's okay, it doesn't have to be some long, deep answer. Just what's he calling you to? And it really made me think for months. And I was like, well, if I'm so invested in my own kids and I love working with kids so much, and when I go to church every Sunday, we kind of just hang out downstairs, maybe I should be working with the kids there and telling them about God. Maybe that's another gift of mine that I do have that he could use. Maybe I could help teach them about the Lord and teach them about the Bible. And it was the exact same time that the Yellow Ribbon girls were moving out of the church basement downstairs, and we were going to have another room, and Tom and Barb had told me, well, we were already going to start looking for someone to start a kids ministry, so this is perfect timing. And I thought, well, it wasn't mine, it was God's, because I was really nervous about it. So that's another huge faith step that I took, and another huge stand for the Lord that I did not expect. So many things that I did not expect. That was on March 5th of last year, coming around full circle. March 5th of this year, I was in the hospital wondering what was happening, having so many more questions. Like, why my health? I'm standing up for you. Every area of my life is about you. And I was being, relating with Job, and as Cody would tell me, emotional and dramatic. And I needed to rein it in and remember all the blessings. And And then I started wondering, well, why? Why am I being so emotional? And then I thought about my last year in 2023. After starting that ministry here, I decided I wanted to go to church camp with Cody and counsel again, even though I constantly wondered why. What am I even doing there? I'm chasing my kids around. I'm just tired. I'm not serving the kids in a way that I'd like to. And this July, there was another counselor who ended up pouring into me more than I think I was even able to pour into the kids around me. And she helped me talk through a lot of the hurt and the life decisions that we made and show me how God was still working through all that. And then not long after coming back from camp, we went to the beach with my family in August of 2023. And then it was like 5 days after getting my home from the beach, I get a call from my mom. Your dad, he was on his dirt bike and he got hit by a car. I was like, I had no words. I just fell to the ground and was crying, and the girls were trying to cheer me up and pray with me, and I had to go to the hospital with them all the time and see my dad in there and wonder, what must it be like for him here every night? How scared must he be? Like, I was watching everything happening and I was scared for him, and I wore my faith shirts every time I went to visit, and I tried to remember the scriptures, and I tried to pray about it, and I tried to lean on God, but it was still a lot of emotions, and I was still, relating with Job and all over the place and kind of just questioning everything. And little did I know that in February, I would be in a hospital too, and all those same things I was worrying about my dad, I was worrying about myself. Cody came to the hospital the second day I was there, and he was like, why are you crying all the time? You were crying while you were waiting for an MRI? Like, what's the big deal? It's like, I don't know, my emotions are just all over the place. And he gave me a pep talk, and he told me the Lord has wonderful and beautiful plans for our future, no matter what happens. And he made me just reflect on the way God had been using that experience. And I remembered back to, we had just gone to Winter Blast at the beginning of February at that church camp. And I was making friends with other people who were close to God, and we were talking about how he was working in our lives. And I was encouraged by my brother-in-law. He had a story where something hard that happened to him that helped him get closer to the Lord and made him a happier person and made me want to be around him more. And I told God in my mind, not out loud, just praying, I was like, if that's what it takes, as another really, really hard experience, I know you'll get us through it. I know that's what will help call me even closer to you. And then it was a couple weeks later, and that was the same weekend I stopped nursing Gabriel, so my emotions were at an all-time high from that too. And then a few weeks later, that's when I was in the hospital. And that's whenever I was just questioning everything, and I was able to see the way Cody stepped up for our family even more. It was like all that past trauma I had from being what felt like a single mom, even though he was providing for us. I was able to watch him take care of our kids, pick out their clothes every day, make sure somebody was taking them to school and taking them home and doing their homework with them. And I got to see how much love and support I had, not only from him, but from my family, from his family, from all of our friends. The people at PCS, they stepped up and they made a meal train for me. I was like, I have all this love and support and all these people pointing me back to Christ. Why is he still like, why am I still so emotional? Why am I still relating with Job? There's no reason for that. That is dramatic. Cody was right. The last Friday I was there, I woke up that morning. I knew I was going to have a procedure done. They were going to take my spinal fluid. They were going to check it for MS and all these things that the doctors kept talking about, even though all of it just sounded so scary and just made me feel even more lost. And it was supposed to be 1 p.m. that day. So I was like, okay, I have all day to mentally prepare for it and pray about it. It'll be okay. And then some lady shows up at 8 a.m. with a wheelchair, and she's like, get in, we're going somewhere. I was like, for what? She goes, x-rays. It's like, I don't have x-rays, just a lumbar procedure, but that's not until later. And they said I could have anxiety meds before that and all kinds of things. She goes, well, that's not happening anymore. It's now. I just found out whenever we showed up to the room. It's like, okay. And right before that had happened, I'd read on social media that a kid that I went to high school with, even though I didn't really know him that well, he's only 2 years older than me, had just suddenly passed away in the same hospital that I was sitting in a hospital bed as. It's like, then I was really scared. I was like, I know they keep telling me I'm only 26 and I'm healthy and all my vitals are good and I'm beautiful, but I was like, is this gonna be it? Am I gonna be done here? Like, then I was really freaked out. And then I got over myself again, and then we're like, wow, what would my life be like without Cody? Like, this young mom lost her husband and they had a 1-year-old baby. How horrible would it be if he was to not just be working out of town all the time, but actually gone? And it just made me put our relationship at an even more like focal point of growth. And we've been doing so much talking and so much healing since then, and doing so much praying and Bible reading together, and so much physical, emotional, and spiritual healing has come out of all of this. And I knew that God would. I knew he would use the hard experience that I told him I would get through to help me get through it. But I just didn't understand how it would affect every aspect of my life. One of the biggest scriptures that got me through that time, Tom had sent to me. We've been reading the Psalms together, me, Tom, and Val, ever since November of 2023. And it was November of 2022, the year before that I talked to Tara and started running again and praying on all my runs and listening to Tom's messages on every run I went on. I decided that I was going to start listening to God's calling closer again. Then November of this year, we started our Psalms Bible study together. And while I was in the hospital, he told us about Psalms 103, and we read it together. And one of the things it says is, I will heal all of your diseases. And that was just something that was constantly rolling through my brain then. Like, after the second day in the hospital, I was like, Tom was the only person that came to visit me other than like my mom and my close family. So I was like, he will heal all our diseases. He will be our benefits plan. Even if we don't have insurance and benefits from the world, and it's God. He will be our benefits. He's our benefits package that Tom always talks about. And another one was Psalms 107:20. I sent my word and healed you and delivered you from your destruction. It's like, wow. He's saving me from my destruction, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, on every aspect. God's healing me. And I still didn't, at that time, know what was happening to me physically, or we still didn't know if it was MS or if I just had my hormones all over the place or what was going on. But another scripture that really stood out to me, that's become kind of my new one that I reflect on a lot, and I have it on the back of my phone case, is, she is clothed in strength and dignity and laughs without fear of the future. Proverbs 31:25. And a couple years earlier, me and Cody had gone through all the Proverbs together, and we studied them. And I think for most women, Proverbs 31 is a huge chapter that you think about a lot of times as you're trying to learn how to be a young mom and a young wife. And I really was thinking about it in this situation. It's like, God, he is my confidence. He is my strength. He is my dignity. It's nothing else. It's not all the hard things I thought I had to do to make him happy. This is it. It's just him. And all the tests and trials that I thought Satan was putting me through, God is telling me to laugh at it. Don't be afraid of the future. Don't listen to the fear that he's trying to put into you right now. So, and then after I was out of the hospital and we were trying to figure out what was wrong with me, there was trying to get back into normal life, which is, I thought, okay, I'm home. I'm good. Like, this is fine. And then everyone's telling me, stop trying to do so much. I was like, well, when I was in the hospital, God was really working on me. He put me through all these tests. I want to go serve him. I want to do more. And everybody's like, no, you need to do less. You need to keep laying there. I was like, no, I just laid in a hospital bed for 5 days. Like, really, I just want to do more. I want to go talk to the kids at church. I want to go talk to all my friends. I want to talk to all my family. I want to tell the whole world about what God's doing for me. And then that was another test. That was another trial I had to get through, was everybody telling me to just rest. And I was like, okay, God's been telling me I've needed more confidence up to this point. He's been telling me I need to rest more too, and realize when he wants me to serve him, and when I need to take a Sabbath, because right now working every day of the week and never taking a break from the kids is not doing it. God needs to see us resting. So then after I'd kind of gotten through that, then it was my neurologist appointment on March 27th, and we got to go get answers as to what was happening to me. And they told me all the inflammation in my body wasn't from MS. It was just from being sick and hormones. Like, my white blood level was at a 91, and it's supposed to be under 10. So I was preparing myself. I was like, okay, it's a mess. I'm gonna have a new life. I'm not gonna be able to run anymore. I'm not gonna be able to keep up with our kids. I have no idea what I will be able to do. And then we go to the neurologist, and she says, no, you just had asymptomatic meningitis that led you to being blind, that led you to the ER, that led you to the hospital, and that's why you're struggling to walk. It's like, okay, none of that really makes sense though, but I was still grappling with that and trying to understand what that meant. And they also told us that, the only thing to do to heal was rest. There's no treatment for what I had. It's like, oh, so now not only is everyone in my life telling me to rest, and God's telling me to rest, but even the doctors are just saying, you just need to rest. It's like, okay. So I tried to take a step back as much as I could and get over that. And after that day, one of the big scriptures that stood out to me was Psalms 118, 16 through 17. The strong right arm of the Lord is raised in triumph. The strong right arm of the Lord has done glorious things. I will not die. I will live to tell what the Lord has done for me. And that, I kind of had that in my mind for a couple days. I was like, this was the Lord's answer. He just wanted you to go through a short, hard time to learn all these things, and then you are going to start to be able to get back into your normal life. You are victorious. You don't have to have a life of MS. And you don't have to worry about being so perfect and doing all the things all the time. You can rest. You can give it all to God. He is victorious. And then, of course, it made me want to tell everybody. I took to Facebook and started posting every day. I started talking to whoever would listen. I wanted to just tell them about how good God had been. And that's kind of why I'm here today also, other than just wanting to get to talk to everybody upstairs about my testimony, because I haven't really done that, and I'm playing a huge part in what's going on downstairs. So another huge thing that I had thought I'd wanted to do even before going into the hospital was start working full-time at PCS this fall. They kept telling me the past several years, we want this position to be full-time. I kept telling them, I think part-time is all I can handle. I've got a lot going on with my kids and church and my husband and church camp, and they were like, yeah, but we really want a marketing director here full-time. So I had that in my mind, and then this year, after everything that happened with my dad and throwing myself into work and church and the kids, I was like, okay, next year I want to go full-time if that's what they want me to do. I want to work with them all the time. And this Wednesday I had a meeting with my bosses, and I'd already gotten some pushback from family members about going full-time. They were like, you shouldn't be doing that. You already have too much going on. And I was like, well, I guess I'll be praying about it, and we'll give it to God, and whatever he tells me is what will happen. And in my meeting on Wednesday, my boss told me, yeah, the board's decided that they don't want you to come full-time anymore. We can't afford that, so you're just going to come part-time again next year. It's like, okay, another door slammed shut. He's been slamming a lot of doors shut over the past 2 months. Maybe all I went through was just for this news and to get over it. Because a couple months ago, I would have been really sad had I heard that. My daughter goes there to PCS now, and I wanted to be there with her, and my second daughter, Scarlett, is going to PCS in the fall, and I wanted to be there with them all day, every day. I was super excited to get to see them at lunchtime and talk to their friends and learn what they were learning about God, not just from what they tell me at home, because that's not always very reliable, but on a first-hand experience, and be able to share with the world what God was doing there. I was like, okay, well, going part-time doesn't mean I'm going to miss out on all that. I'm still going to get to do that with them, just not every day. On the other days, I'll still be getting to focus on my relationship with Gabriel and God and my relationship with him and what I'm teaching the kids at church and maybe whatever else he's calling me to. Maybe if we still need more money to afford everything we're doing, I could start a photography business and try to make money that way. Like, I have other gifts and talents, and I don't need to worry about our health, our wealth, all the things that Job had lost. Like, it's all in God's hands now. All the worry and fear, I don't need to put on myself. So, and I'd also been getting encouragement from Tom and Val every day. And Tara Marsh was just here yesterday to tell us about her and her new husband and everything they're sharing in Africa and Indonesia and everything that her company's doing. I was like, well, if she can get married and travel the world, and she has plans of having her own children and doing that while in ministry, and people take their own kids on mission trips to them, what we're doing here in our ministry in America is possible too. And everything that I'm trying to do here isn't too hard to be possible. There were other scriptures that Cody even just shared with me last night. And this is another big point is I keep feeling like selfish, that I'm thinking about myself all the time. And I've been reminded from people, don't be self-absorbed all the time. You're talking about yourself too much. And I was like, you might be right. I think I'm doing everything for God, but maybe I am just whining and complaining a lot about myself. And Cody shared some scriptures with me last night to share and to remind of in the story. Ephesians 2:8-10. For by grace are you saved through faith, and that is not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, and no man should boast. In 2 Corinthians, we do not boast without measure, but according to the measure of God. It's like, okay, that helped me calm down last night. I was like, those are the scriptures I need to remember. It's not just about me. Tomorrow's not just about me. I want to make sure I stress them the importance of all the work God has done through our lives, even through all the hard, even through the hard right now. It's still all about God. We still have a lot of questions. We still don't know exactly what's going to happen. We're still getting bills and things trickling in, and we don't know exactly where we'll be, but we know whatever we're doing, we'll be serving God, and He'll be the one that's getting us through it. And that's all that we need to know. So, but anyway, yeah, however hard and stressful it may be, it's all going to be about God. And I'll keep reminding myself of that question Tara gave me a couple years ago. What is God calling you to now? All of it or smaller amounts of it? Should you be resting more? Should you not work so hard that you put yourself into the hospital for 5 days or 4 days, however long it was? What are the actual gifts and talents that He's giving you and resources that He wants you to be using right now? And it's another calling that I give to everyone around me. It's, what is God calling you to? It was like Tara and Buck said yesterday. Just because they're doing amazing things for God overseas doesn't mean we can't be doing it here in America today. And last night, while I was preparing with Cody to talk about all this, he gets a text from his brother. Israel's getting bombed right now by Iran. It's like, oh my goodness, should I talk about that tomorrow? Cody said, I don't know. I was like, well, we don't need to dwell on it, but I'll at least keep reminding people to be praying about it and remember that this is the most crucial time of our lives right now. We don't know how much more time we have, but we have right now. And in the end times could be nearer than any of us imagine. Not that I don't want to see my kids grow up and that I don't want to have a long, lovely life that I've been working through all the hard to see the reward for, but just keep praying and keep giving it to God and don't worry or be in fear about it. So anyway, I was going to read to you guys the end of Job, since that was the story that I started with, and I was talking about all the hardship at the beginning of his story that I was reading. The end, I skipped a little bit because I didn't have enough time. The last chapter, Job 42 says, Then Job replied to the Lord, I know that you can do anything, and no one can stop you. And that's where I've been most of my life. And you asked, who is this that questions my wisdom with such ignorance? It is I, and I was talking about things I knew about, things far too wonderful for me. You said, listen, and I will speak. I have some questions for you, and you must answer them. I had only heard about you before, for now I have seen you with my own eyes. I take back everything I said, and I sit in dust and ashes to show my repentance. And then it says in my Bible, the conclusion is, the Lord blesses Job. The Lord had finished speaking to Job. He said to Eliphaz the Temanite, I am angry with you and your two friends, for you have not spoken accurately about me, even as my servant Job has. So take 7 bulls and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job, and offer a burnt offering for yourselves. My servant Job will pray for you, and I will accept his prayer on your behalf. I will not treat you as you deserve, for you have not spoken accurately about me, as my servant Job has. So Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamanite did as the Lord commanded them, and the Lord accepted Job's prayer. And when Job prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes. In fact, the Lord gave him twice as much as before. Then all his brothers and sisters and former friends came, and they feasted with him at his home, and they consoled him and comforted him because of all the trials the Lord had brought him against. And each one of them brought him a gift of money and a gold ring. And the Lord blessed Job in this second half of his life, even more than the beginning. For now he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 teams of oxen, 1,000 donkeys. He also gave Job 7 more sons and 3 more daughters. And he named his first daughter Jemiah, the second Keziah, the third Karen. I can't say all these names. In all the land, no women were as lovely as the daughters of Job. And their father put them into his will along with their brothers. Job lived another 140 years after that. And he lived to see 4 generations of his children and grandchildren. And then he died, an old man who had lived a long and full life. And I've just been remembering the end of that story. Even though the beginning was so hard, God was not done with him. He brought him through all that, and he blessed him even more than he was blessed the first time with everything he had lost. And he got to have a party with his friends. They got to help comfort him. And me and Cody, we never really got to have like a big celebratory party of our marriage and the life we wanted together. So in 2025, it'll be 10 years since we started dating, and we want to have a vow renewal, invite all of our friends and make it about our family and get to see all the love in our lives in that aspect, and have all the healing from what we missed the first time around happen, and just get to throw a big party after all of this that we've been through. And we want to do it here, so we can do it at the church that every milestone of our lives has happened at, and Tom can still marry us again, and his whole family can be involved, and all of our close friends. And yeah, at the end of my whole speech today, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone here who's been supporting us, even just in friendship, and giving us opportunities and talking about God and the Bible with us, and any help and support, and all the big and small things, they all matter. We see them all, and we love all of our friends and have never appreciated them more in our entire lives. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
I just want to know if you guys would bow your heads, and I'm going to pray for this young lady right here. Very proud of her. She's a fighter, and I'm super inspired. Father in heaven, I just lift up Goldie and her whole entire family. They've been such a blessing, and they've been great friends and great inspirations, Lord. You have brought her out of the ashes, Lord. You've given her beauty for ashes and the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Lord, she couldn't see out of one eye. She was numb in one leg, and she had the fear of the future, Lord. But you visited her in her time of need, and you are restoring her soul. You're making her a light, and this young lady will not be stopped. She's going to proceed, and she's going to talk about the goodness of God in the land of the living. And she's going to raise her children, and she's going to be a great wife and a great inspiration to us all. I just thank you for her this morning, and I ask you to give her peace in all that she does, and restore to her the years that the locust has eaten too. And we thank you for this day, for everybody here. May we all receive inspiration to go out there and take on life in Jesus' name. Everybody say, Amen. God bless you, dear.
Thank you.
You guys are dismissed. Tell all your friends.